Hello and welcome to Dinis Guarda YouTube podcast show, powered once again by businessabc.net, citiesabc.com, and wisdomia.ai. We live in a world that is in a fast pace of transformation, and one of the areas that we are right now facing probably more challenges and as well, I would say, more opportunities is the way we deal with our personal brands, our education, our continuous training, and especially our technology is taking over our lives, our physical human beings and our digital human beings. But as well, one of the things that I think it's more important and we are highlighting more and more in this series is the importance of continuous retraining and education for all of us. And today I'm very excited to welcome someone that is working precisely on this. And it is actually, I would say this is the most important part of the next stage of humanity. And I'm not saying this on a low level, is because as we speak, we are in the first stage of artificial intelligence taking over us as humans and becoming another digital sentient or another kind of evolving part. So education will transform everything. So I want to welcome to our series Dr. Michael Everest, that is the founder and chief executive officer of edYOU, a Web 3.0 education company focused on creation of immersive and adaptive learning experience using artificial intelligence. The edYOU platform builds around a lot of the new iteration of areas like AI avatars, and they build a series of them, which are fantastic. I'm going to be talking about that. And offers personalized and interactive tutoring to students and career-changing adults, providing transformative educational experiences. Dr. Michael is also the founder, chairman, and chief academic officer of Residence Medical, consultancy dedicated to improving graduate medical education, GME, and healthcare systems worldwide. Resident Medical collaborates with top US medical schools and teaching hospitals, breaking down barriers of residency acceptance for qualified medical graduates for improving healthcare outcomes. Dr. Michael also serves as the founder and chairman Emeritus of the Everest Family Foundation, a Los Angeles, California-based nonprofit organization supporting students to find a suitable medical residency where they can further apply research and a lot of areas of learning. Dr. Michael holds a dual doctorate, including a Doctor of Education degree from the Liberty University. And this background is quite impressive from the contribution in global medical and education in general, but as well the innovative approaches towards learning. And part of his work has been as well through contributions in the areas of all the confluence of education 360 to the areas of technology. You mentioned Web3, but as well artificial intelligence, and as well, I would say digital twins, immersive avatars or digital agents, and all the areas that are right now changing education at large, but as well medical education and AI-driven learning. So we can talk as well, just as a summary, that some of the barriers that has been trying to do is looking how we can empower some of these technologies to empower different areas of business and forward-thinking education organizations around the world. So welcome to our series, Dr. Michael. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dinis. And what an amazing, amazing venue that you've created through hard work. I was introduced to your whole team, your whole global team, and what you've put together with this global perspective and the followers that you gathered by having really interesting topics that are relevant, not just for now, but for the future and retrospectively in the past. So I want to congratulate you, sir, on an amazing job that you've done on your podcast, your YouTube. And it's really an honor and pleasure to be here to share my vision and I think our vision on how to help humanity through learning and wellness.
Well, thank you. It's an honor. And I think I'm very dedicated to your area and the work you do, because I think at the moment, definitely everything is going to be increasingly about the way we shift technology in education, because all the barriers and all the foundations of what we have as society are not going to be the same as they stand. And the thing is that if you look at the last four industrial revolutions, we had a lot of it was still very dramatic, especially the fourth industrial revolution and the first changed the entire society because people suddenly had electricity. So the nights start changing. And suddenly as well, I think for people listening to us, for instance, one of the areas that I like to remember was that when the electricity was invented, the president of the United States ran away from the White House when he was deployed because he was afraid they could destroy and could kill everyone. So,
Yeah.
of course, now we are in the same parallel 200 years afterwards when it comes to artificial intelligence, that, of course, there's a sense of fear and the same sense of fascination. But of course, artificial intelligence is slightly different because it's invisible in one end and is as powerful as our brains and our intelligence. So my first question to you is, you are a double doctorate, you've been building a lot of different things, but I want to start by the basics. So when you start your education, your career, how were your foundations? Who influenced it? Was your parents? Was your mentors? Or was just a passion that came out of you? A bit of your history, but as well this roadmap. So I think important for people listening to us.
No, thank you for that. Thank you for that question. Really, my inspiration was my father, Dr. Edwin Everest, who I founded the foundation in memory of after he passing away in 2008. He was a famous surgeon, and he had many obstacles that he overcame as an immigrant from India, first coming to the UK, then to America. But he showed me the really importance. Yes, he was smart. Yes, he was personable, but he had grit. So what he put inside me is to have grit, never give up, keep moving forward. So I went, I completed my primary education. I went on to bachelor's, master's, and then a PhD, and really moving in the realm of education, because later in his life, he really dedicated his life in teaching medical students when he got a little ill towards the later part of his life, and he passed away very young. I was following the trajectory of medicine to follow the family structure of second generation doctor. But then I had a moment where I thought to myself, because it reminded me of my father. What he was doing is, when he was doing operations, when he was doing clinical, he was making a lot of money, right? But when he got sick and he could no longer do operations and he can no longer do clinic, he couldn't make money, right? So I thought, okay, I have to think of a model that can help humanity, that will bring a residual income in and will bring residual power and strength through my ideas. At that point, I decided I'm going to go in business. I'm not going to further go into medicine, right? So my core comes from seeing the grit of my father, the struggles and conquests of my father in medicine. He was a famous heart surgeon. And then also finding my own path in that, knowing that where are my strengths? What can I learn from the struggles? Us as children, our formative years of what develops us is seeing the victories and defeat of our parents, right? And what I saw in my father is his victories of never giving up, having grit, coming to different lands with an accent, but always staying there and making it. So that's my foundation of why I take on these projects that are like, oh my gosh, where do I start? Is it'll help humanity not give up, and having a direction, a compass, that my destiny is to leave a mark in helping humanity through education, through wellness, through medicine. And that's really been my platform, that I get to live every day doing what I love. Whether it's as small as just having the team together and creating an idea, and manifesting that idea and following through with it, and all the machinations that come with that, is never giving up, having the grit. And my foundation really comes from my family, the support and love that I had, and the struggles and victories I saw, specifically my father, overcome and attain. And my mother, who's still alive, is my inspiration, as being as many mothers are, sacrificial to her kids, and doing whatever it takes to make sure that they have a good education and a good moral compass. So really, my foundation is my mother and father.
Well, that's wonderful, and that shows as well that this upbringing brought fantastic achievements. So coming back from your career, tell us a bit about your career, and as well from that foundations of your family. How did your own education, and both academic but as well entrepreneurial? and
Yes.
were some of the benchmarks and the things that were key for the success, and before we go to your present achievements and what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, my benchmark started with, first really gaining my PhD in education. I think that that started because the thesis just drove me crazy, and I wanted to come up with a very, very, very good material item. And then I further went and got a doctorate in education, singularly. What really my foundation was going to school. I didn't like the homework, like most people. I didn't like the extra classes, but I liked the cultural environment. I liked, for me, I liked the religious compass that the university brought. I think that it's important to believe in a higher power, to have some accountability, whether that, for me, that gives me a lot of strength. And really after that, I was deciding, am I going to go into medicine? I went through all of that education, and I just decided, look, Dad, this is what I want to do. So then he had this concept, as I said, later in his life, of helping medical doctors prepare for education, and through graduate medical education, through residency. So he had a lab here by UCLA where he was mentoring these students, helping them and helping them become medical residents. And it was his dream to help as many as he can, because he was in that situation first as a foreign graduate that couldn't find any help, couldn't have the resources, right? So that concept loosely started with him sketching out the idea in his mind and living it out. And that's what I started Residence Medical Group with, a company that, and he mentored it for about a year before he passed away. And I founded this company to help medical students and graduates achieve medical residency and fellowship, because there was what was happening way back then and even now, which was a residency bottleneck. So in that residency bottleneck in America, students from around the world apply for medical residency, and every year about 6,000 of them are not able to become medical doctors, because there are too few positions and way too many applicants vis-a-vis the residency bottleneck. So I started solving that by making relationships with medical schools, teaching hospitals, and saying, hey, finding like-minded people that want to give somebody a chance to prove themselves for a year in the research lab clinically. If they prove themselves, give them an interview and hopefully get the residency in that program. And we did that, and just one led to another, to another, to another, and now we're helping in the hundreds yearly. I've been doing that for a while, and then comes, but I always had an itch to expand education. So then comes COVID-19, right? That horrible time where we just, it was like a movie, that, what was that Brad Pitt movie, World War Z or something like that? It was just, what is going on over here? And then I started seeing the disparity of my kids having a hard time learning on Zoom, of many lower income kids going and unable to even have computers, the mothers or father or both having to go to work, unable to mentor their children through education, and the learning outcomes just falling down, falling down, falling down, lower in this abyss, not only in America, but global. So about 3 years ago, right around that time, I thought of an idea. I said, hey, there was a company called Hanson Robotics that were doing actual robots. And I was thinking, gather a whole bunch of robots to start doing speech pathology and teaching students education. That idea, as in any company, and I think this is very important, Mr. Dinis, that the idea where a company starts isn't where a company ends, right? It evolves, and to have that pivoting aspect, to realize, hey, this is the trajectory that you should go in to be successful, is really an innate ability that I've been blessed with. So we scratched a robot idea, and we said, why don't we create, I started looking at some of these pre-recorded avatar companies, and I said, if there's a way of having, I call them cabs, conversational AI beings, but we can say avatar, having a cab have a real-time communication as you and I are having, right? Rather than pre-recorded. So I started coming up with this concept and creating this concept. But at that point, what I found is the front end is very nice. You can have a beautiful lifelike front end, and that is very difficult to put together, to have the lip sync and this and that. But what really should power, and it shouldn't really matter the front end, what should really power the technology is the back end, is the platform, is the artificial intelligence. So I started looking into artificial intelligence. And this is before OpenAI had this big boost, but I had researched them and I heard about them and I saw what they were doing. I was following the person that created Siri and what he was doing with artificial intelligence. So I started putting the puzzles of this platform together for the specific reason of helping in education, that a student can come wherever they are, and whether a single family, whether they want to advance in education, or they just need a flipped classroom help in further learning more. So I created this idea and this concept of an artificial intelligence being, a cab, an avatar, to be able to speak as you and I are speaking and help be a study buddy, a learning companion for the user end. So I started creating that. And then there was a pivotal time where I saw the combination of learning and wellness and how that should combine. My 12-year-old daughter, Calliope, she was having a hard day at school. So, I test out my ideas in technology with my three children, right? And my daughter Calliope's always been the most willing, reluctantly a lot of the time, but most willing to deal with my experiments, if you will. So I said, Calliope, ask Nova, who's an AI being for primary school that I created. Ask her anything you want about school. And I thought she was going to ask her some pre-algebra question. She was in sixth grade at the moment, at the time. She goes, Nova, I'm not feeling well today. I had a very hard day at school. My girlfriends are giving me a hard time, and I am just not understanding where to go and what to do. So, and we had just created our platform, and I'll get more into the platform of really capturing in our machine learning the data. We were fast tracked to patent, which is very, very rare for the US Patent Office, on how gathering information, disseminating information, and creating a predictive analysis to answer, right? So she asks Nova on the edYOU platform, and Nova goes into this long, helpful, mentoring in how to deal with that situation when she's having a hard time at school with her friends. And then I said, okay, pause, Calliope. Now please go and ask Alexa. And God bless Alexa. God bless Jeff Bezos. He's, brilliant in what he did. And Alexa gave a very dry answer, right? So, and then at that point, my wife came and said, honey, you should really focus on wellness too. Your education, you have a lot of higher barriers where, people worry about it. I said, no, we're going to do both. Because at that point, a light bulb went off and I said, learning and wellness has not been combined. It's been separate, but if you can combine learning and wellness, the better you feel, the more well-being you have, the more you're going to retain knowledge, retain what you're taught, and you will have an option to feel better during that episode of learning, after the episode, and really retain the lessons that you're to learn. And that from then on, it's been a learning and wellness platform. And at that point, before I went even to the marketplace, right, I started doing research, and I started creating this platform backend where a lot of companies were figuring out what AI is. There were chatbots, but it wasn't a conversational style aspect. So then I started creating our machine learning, saying let's segment them on how a 6-year-old will learn. And I did have this as my first experience, how a 6-year-old will learn nuclear fusion and how a 45-year-old will learn nuclear fusion. And that lesson cannot be the same as in a video because everyone has a different learning style, right? So I started putting in these different parameters of teach a 6-year-old like this, both in speech pathology, and teach a 40-year-old because everyone has learning styles, and adding the wellness component to that. So as I was doing that and building this from the ground up, this platform, this machine learning, pardon me, GPT comes out with its 3.0 version, I believe, right? And everyone's like, oh my gosh, your whole thing is over. This thing is going to take over. It's $1 billion company. I said, no. You don't understand the Web3 world. This can be very, very helpful. This takes the heavy lifting of the natural language processing off my shoulders. That work is done. I can focus on building the walled garden of learning and wellness and how to put certain parameters and how to build it with learning the user at the end of the day, learning the learning style of the user and having all of this data analytics put into the machine learning through what I call the PI, personal ingestion engine, and then churning it out through our intelligent curation engine. So through time, and this is a matter of a month, as you're on our platform, the platform learns your learning style and speaks to you back and teaches you in that sense. And then having a option of endless testing and quizzes, because what we really want to learn in school or in general as a conditioning is we want to learn for the test, right? Get an A+ on the test, raise your GPA, and go on to do 10 years at Stanford like your comrade Mr. Philippe is doing, right? Is really what we're taught in higher education. But so I went on and I started creating this platform, and now rather than recreating my large language model, going to these large language models, using them for what they're good for as a minor addition to making the natural language processing better. Having the core of our data in there, having the core of what input we're putting in, keeping it basically hallucination free, because as you know, many of these LLMs, which, you know, I won't name by name, but, you know, all of the big players are in it, have a high hallucination count. They don't gather the data for the user as we do. The data goes to the organization, whether it's Claude, whether it's OpenAI, ChatGPT, whatever it may be, and it goes to building their system, and the user end doesn't get the data. Our user gets their data, they can review their data, and they can go on and further solidify their learning and wellness, as well as further and solidify the machine learning for edYOU that keeps the information with the user, not with us. So we've created that. And now with wellness, we've combined it. So there's prompts that come every few lessons saying, how are you feeling today? Do you understand this? May I explain this further? And getting those pointers of if the user end is speaking slower, speaking more sadder, speaking depressed, say, hey, is everything okay? Do you want to talk? And having those little infusions of check-ins on wellness while they're learning, but doing it seamlessly. And I think that has been very helpful. We are, you know, now going into suicide prevention with the University of Alabama with a Dr. Lockman that does talk therapy, and using our AI beings for talk therapy with not only the person that's in need of the talk therapy, the psychiatry help, but also with the parents and with the siblings that need to go through that when someone is going through mental illness. So really, I gathered it. I did my first research project under the esteemed Dr. Ram Samuj at California North State University with their incoming class. They paid for the study. So we've been very, very bullish on the institution paying for the study, so there's no bias, right? Whatever findings they have, they get, we retain, they publish it.
That's impressive. So for people listening to us, so let's go by parts. So for people listening to us, we're talking about edYOU.com, and you can find all the information about the platform on this URL. So I have a couple of questions, because you're touching, of course, you mentioned a lot of things. Just let's go by parts. So firstly, this is probably the first AI chatbot for education and wellness on a mainstream world. So kudos to that. But this is a highly sensitive amount of data, because you're targeting children and young people. So I want to start with that. So, and of course, in your website, we pass some images as we speak. You're talking about personalized learning, safe, secure, and transparent, and of course, the idea of empowering and creating different parts. So let's start first. How you deal? I know that, of course, this is with schools as well. So that's a very important thing that is open to everyone. Give us the steps for people listening to us, because of course, at the moment, for instance, I was talking, and I'm in the UK, and I was actually still a bit shocked, but I'm not going to mention names, but a lot of major universities have a massive resistance to AI. And although GPT just passed the $100 billion valuation and 200 million active users per month, there's still a lot of question marks around this. So when you're talking about, you are going one step ahead. You created an AI chatbot that not only can talk with it and is amazing, just check the images, but is actually helping you on your education and your wellness, and especially the wellness is a very sensitive stuff. So I want to touch how do you tackle this? And you partly touched that in the relationship with universities, but I would like to see how you protect yourself, because of course there's a lot of issues. You saw what happened with Gemini and Google, that and this is a very important thing for everyone, but what you try is one step ahead, and that's what I'm actually talking in this podcast series, but I want to touch it in a good way.
No, thank you. Yes, so it's very interesting because we have had a lot of resistance at schools, right? They say, oh, is this going to take away the teacher's job? I said, no, this is a study buddy. This will only help with the flipped classroom aspect, will only help. What we have right now in education is a big vacuum. A lot of the big players that were edYOU, right? That were doing web really 1.0 learning with video learning, basically imploded. Khan Academy is having a hard time adjusting to the Web 3.0 world and the future world. So there's a big vacuum there. So the resistance that we've had is them not understanding, many higher educators, right? And we've had talks with high schools, is they're just, for the lack of a better word, ignorant about how AI harnessed properly can really help humanity. So what we do is we educate them. Like what we did at California North State University is we put the students in charge of having our AI being, our CAB, conversational AI being, teach the incoming lesson, and having one group doing it traditional PowerPoint and one group doing it through audio. And what we found is there was a 10%, 15% increase in grades. So then light bulbs go off. Because what do schools want? They want better outcomes so they can encourage enrolling more students and getting more money from the government, and their mandate of helping humanity by learning. That's it's a very altruistic mandate at the end of the day. So that got their attention immediately. And what we found as we further dug in is asking the student along that how are they doing? And remember, we're not treating, bipolar 1 here. We're not treating schizophrenia here. We're dealing a wellness component that helps you along the way. Yes, further on, we have plans like we're doing with Dr. Lockman to have a trigger system and go directly to doctors, but we don't want to spread ourselves too thin. Right now, we're focused learning wellness. So, we presented the paper to the school and they published it immediately, and they were like, wow, this is amazing. So then we went to a couple of different schools and they go through the same thing. Oh, I'm going to have problem with unions, problem with this. But when they get educated in the core product, it's helping the teachers, because the teachers download their curriculum through our AI. We come up with, we revamp their curriculum, put it in slides that are up to date, put the salient points, and then have a conversational text box in the background where the student or the user can ask questions and there'll be a conversation about it, just like we're doing, having a deductive reasoning talk and really going on to it. So what we found then is how to stay hallucination free. I created this toxicity filter. So as you're in biology at a certain school and you want to go and talk about, facelifts or whatever, or to teach me a bad word in Spanish, which my son, when I tested him, asked a bad word in every language as a 13-year-old. He was a great use case for that. And just creating this filtration system, creating this safe walled garden so hallucinations can't come through. So irrelevant topics can't come through. And furthermore, having that filtration system, which ours is, it goes through our artificial intelligence platform, goes to another filtration system, goes to human filtration, and then is output by ICE. Then it connects with I'm giving you the secret sauce here, Mr. Dinis. Then it connects with the user's data and says, this is a user that's more inclined, this is where they need more help. And what does that do for an institution, which we found, and now they're getting it. Who was a trailblazer, who I want to give a shout out to, is a very prestigious school called Sierra Canyon, where all the celebrity kids go. They got it a year and a half ago, and they saw, wow, look at the results. And now from these 25-year-old young kids in medical school getting better grades to now these 8 to 12-year-olds getting better grades after their finals was a big accomplishment. And what we found is the teachers started liking it, because now we're building academic integrity. The teachers in the background can see what questions a student has asked, We have infinite quizzes that we give them on the platform.
So let me come back to what you said. So the relationship with universities, and this is very important because I believe that is the. So let me ask one questions because so you've been finding, and I'm right now is me my curiosity because I have as well a daughter that is 11 years old. So you've been
Right.
finding resilience with the schools, or they've been actually accepting and engaging with this? That's the first question, because I know that there's a lot of resilience towards AI. And ironically, of course, like I mentioned, even big universities having a lot of VCs on this.
Yes, no, I can tell you. 2 years ago, I was finding a lot of resistance, a lot of resistance. But as leading institutions like California North State, like Sierra Canyon, took that first risk for a pilot program and started getting results, now the universities are saying, okay, there's something here. But yes, it's lessened a lot. But yes, there has been a lot of resistance. You know, my chief commercial officer graduated from Cambridge, from Oxford, right? And we presented this 2 years ago, and they were like, well, this is scary, resistance there. Now I think we're approaching them again, and they're like, wait, this is very interesting. So, yes, there was a lot of resistance, but it's starting to get less and less as we are showing the staying power and we're leading the way through research. And I thought that the research aspect is very, very important because if you prove it, academia's drums start hitting when you start getting research that's showing good outcomes or bad outcomes, whatever they are. But in our case, the outcomes have been only good. They're like, okay, you're onto something here. So yes.
No, that's very impressive. So coming back to the platform, and you touched a lot of things. So for people listening to us, is that you have. So let's look at the onboarding. So there's Anna, there is the study buddy and wellness companion, and as we speak, will be appearing here on the screen. And Anna can actually speak with you, and we actually have other different chatbots. So you are in the process of launching this. So let's look at. So you touch most of the way the platform works. So from an LLM perspective, and of course I have to ask, of course, the ethical considerations. How do you deal with making sure, because if every child is different, okay, and of course dealing with wellness, and it's one area that I've been actually working with a couple of platforms. Actually, there's a couple of big international platforms related with wellness. There's a big sensibility on this, and in the US even more. I think you guys have, even right now what is happening with the elections and what is happening in the last days, even Elon Musk using an AI driven avatar of one of the, or actually at the moment became a kind of a joke because all the candidates start creating, or not all, some of them are using fake candidates. So this process here, and I think this is going to be our interview, for instance, actually mentioned Anson Robotics. Dr. Anson was in this podcast himself, and I know him quite well. So the challenge is that when we build a robot, there's a physical interaction. And of course, at a certain point, you can go out or in and engage. And of course, we're going to have a lot of these things. When it comes to a digital interaction of a chatbot, there's a lot of nuances because there's the data that the child or the young adult is putting on the platform. There's the sometimes even the language because it's a young person. And how, just for people listening to us, how do you deal with the LLM and as the interactivity and the data protection and the data as well learning, because of course an LLM keeps learning?
No, thank you for that question. It's a very, very brilliant question. So the way we deal with the LLM is whether we have it connected to Claude, whether we have it connected to Grok, whether we have it connected to GPT as in a language processor, and this all happens really in a matter of seconds, right? Let's say that you have asked a question to Hannah, and Hannah absorbs that question, goes through our Pi, our personal ingestion engine, ingests the question to see if it's relevant, sends it out to an LLM for natural language processing. It comes back and it filters through our ICE intelligent curation engine and to see the relevance and then to see, and that's where our neural, and I'm just applying for another patent for this. I have applied, I should be getting it. That's when our neural links, our neural network comes in and looks at the data through our machine of the past interactions of the user to the present and goes and answers it. One may ask, well, what if the person just signed up, right? Then we have a predictive data of just based on the question of what may be the correct answer in moving in that direction. And 9 out of 10 time mathematics, it's all mathematic equations, right? And 9 out of 10, it's correct. And as we gather more data, just through one interaction with them on the platform, we get an idea of how they're talking. So the LLM is a part really for the natural language processing because they're experts in it, right? And yes, they have filtration systems, but they're quite not as good enough because that's not their business, right? Their business is gathering large amounts of data and building their machine to answer a lot of things to a lot of people, where ours is focused learning, wellness, safe, accuracy, and having a high toxicity filter around the parameters of what we are teaching at that time.
That's quite impressive, and I think this is going to be a key element for the future of education. So from the platform, so I know that the platform is in the process of being launched. So congratulations on that, and of course all the best success. So you mentioned that you already work with some universities and business and schools. What is your goal? Because of course you're dealing with the most sensitive ages, young people. I would say that you would go probably to older people, would be less risky. So tell us a bit how we're going to be this roadmap, and of course for people that are interested, they can engage, because I think this is, I'm sure anyone that has children will want to test at least, because this can actually help a lot and create a lot of, I would say, even me, I feel that I want to test this with my daughter and see how she will react.
That would be an honor. That would be an honor.
So let's go through this angle and the user journey, because you touch part of that, but the user journey part one, you touch this, but the way you take it to bigger audience, because of course this is, of course, we did a lot of marketing and a lot of digital outreach, but as well a lot of education, because you have to educate people how to, because every child is already on Roblox if you let them stay 2, 3, 4, 5 hours or more, and they have already quite a lot of digital education. So I just want to touch these layers. And I think people listening to us, because I think we have, I'm sorry, the question is that I have to contextualize, because there's a lot of layers right now. The challenge when it comes to digital is that, for instance, although most of people don't understand and think about internet or AI, which is a paradox, everyone uses an iPhone or a super phone. And then the other thing is 3.5 billion people play games every day. So ironically, even the people that might say they don't know anything about digital, they are playing games in one way or the other, or their children are. So that's a bit of a, not a bit, there's a lot of paradoxes here. And of course, now all of this is working, but it's all fragmented. So I want to, as in the context that I'm asking the questions.
No, thank you for that question. So first, you hit on a very important point. I didn't flood out the product, right? I just did not flood out the product. We did it in incremental steps, first doing the research, then doing it in small pilot programs. And right now we're at about 2,500 users, which is a lot, right? For a startup company. We just finished a internal medicine at a Hospital Corporation of America hospital in Florida to help them with their in-training service exam test. We have 1,000 students at a primary school, and we have another 1,000 members starting at the American Society of Clinical Psychopharmacology. So these are all institutional. But on 9/16, what we're doing is we're really launching to the whole world, where anybody from, Antigua to Zimbabwe can go on the platform and go and learn our classes, go through the learning experience and the wellness experience of EDU technologies. So that is a really big thing, both from a fiscal perspective, but really from a worldwide perspective. And the goal is from there to grow to, may I venture to be so bold to have 200 million users like OpenAI, because I think education and wellness is everywhere. And the more safer they feel on the platform, the more secure their data is, the more open the individual will feel. The user comes on our platform, goes, learns, checks in, has a conversation, gets a grading system, and then goes out and either gets a certificate or goes on to the next lesson. So what I'm creating is not just for kids. I like to say pre-K, pre-kindergarten to grade, saying from youngest to oldest, creating a lifelong learning companion. So if we can use, my 11-year-old daughter or yours, learning from now to where, let's say she switches schools to high school, still having Hannah or Nova as her companion, knowing what her learning pattern was in 5th grade, being, American Standard, to now 9th grade, to then going to college, and having that blockchain data of her that she owns, that you own, right? You're her parent. And the machine is now learning her learning style. So when she comes back from sports and she's exhausted, hey, how was sports today? You might be exhausted. Let's do a quick 20-minute. And then we've added gamification to it, right? Where you get badges. And our goal is to start a community where people can go in and out. The immediate goals are to launch this on 9/16 to the world, go to a raise, go for our Series A raise, because I didn't even want to go ask for money from the outside and give up any control till I prove the product, because I like to do it the old-fashioned way. It's proven, we have users, we're about to boom. Now, okay, this is what we have. This is the patents we have. This is why we do it. And then go on and moving in that direction. So I wanted to add one more thing, Mr. Dinis, which is very important to me, is giving back to the community. And a big reason why I started edYOU, and you may say this, sounds maybe too ethereal, but I was thinking, my God, all these wars going on. What if there could be a person that's, whether it's in the Gaza or Israel, or a person in Afghanistan, wherever it is, that has no access to schooling, but they have access to one of these, a phone, right? And from there, they can go on edYOU and just learn. So we bring back an education all around the world. So what I started is a pay it forward pledge. So every school that signs up with us in a first world country, like UK, we give access for free to a third world country school. And now at 9/16, when we launch, anybody, 20 people that sign up, we're going to give access to one person in a third world country for free. And I think that if we can give a little back, as the good Lord blesses us, and we give back, we make this approachable to different demographics. And that's where that borderless education comes. We want to have a borderless education, and we're actually in talks with India and Pakistan to bring this product to their country in rural parts digitally, right? And in parts. So we're in a lot of talks of growth and to bring this product through that experience. The product itself is a friendly product. It's not a scary product. It's conversational. And what challenge, if I may say, we've had is people understanding, and they get it after the second time, is that we're actually conversational. You sit and have a conversation with Hannah, with Nova, and it's like you and I talking conversationally. We ask a question, you're thinking about it, and this is all going on in the machine learning, and you answer the question back by putting thought into it. Imagine having that access 24/7, like these kids that are playing Roblox, or like the adults that are playing Candy Crush, if you will, right? Spend that half an hour learning something, learning leadership skills, learning history, US history, Europe history, and using that time to learn, to gamify that experience. So there's a reward experience. And also during that time, have a wellness companion that can help you deal with the things of daily living, right? This morning when I came, I was a half an hour late, and thank you for accommodating that because of the Los Angeles traffic, right? Now, at that time, imagine if I was having a test, or if you're a 12-year-old and you're saying, Hannah, I'm really stressed with this traffic. What do I do? And she goes, look, take a deep breath. It'll be okay. Things will work out. Ask the person that you're running late. A lot of people don't have that. And when we went into a school to help with their athletics department, right? And edYOU Sports is something that we're helping with sports learning. He came, the head coach, Coach Trent Dilfer, who is the Super Bowl champion, said, my kids, they don't even know how to use a washing machine. Can you give them real life support? They're too embarrassed to ask me. They're too embarrassed to ask their teammate. Well, ask Hannah. Hey, how do I wash my clothes? I feel very stressed out about my coach. To have that talk therapy, because if someone grew up very insecure, if someone has dyslexia or ADHD or social anxiety, which are real things in this world, they're not going to speak up in class and raise their hand, or they may be shy to go talk to their student, to their classmates or even their superiors. But now they have a platform where safely, whether it's 6 a.m. in the morning or whether it's 2 a.m. at night or everything in between, right? They have something, that someone being there, I should say, that they can speak with, that understands them, that they can learn from and learn with. So I think that these points, and in education and wellness specifically, are very, very important.
No, this is amazing. and of course very ambitious and very difficult to make this succeed. But it's amazing because I think there's still not one global platform of kind of Web3. Okay, and let's put it that way, for especially for education. Okay, there's a lot of platforms for gaming, and I think, to be honest, the only success we can talk really in Web3 is gaming. Even I think if you look at VR successes, or at the moment, of course, you have Apple coming with the Vision Pro, and of course, Meta did a fantastic work pushing a lot of things, but there's not really a platform like what you're trying to do. So I want to keep a bit of, and I want to respect your time, but going a couple of questions related with the press. If you look at Khan Academy, which is, I think, what comes to mind, what you're doing, Khan Academy is, at the end of the day, start as a YouTube channel where you could go and get your courses, and now became geared towards professional education and US schooling system, but as well with all the international schooling systems, basic levels of study smarter, that offers all the exams for SAT, ACT, EP. I'm not an expert, although I built an app for education a long time ago for math, but it was for children and it was a pure gaming. So the Khan Academy, of course, is growing massive, and of course the data they have, it's actually became an LLM themselves, and they actually build the model through a non-profit, providing a free world-class education for everyone. So, and they have a fantastic app, and probably is the most successful non-profit organization of education in the world at the moment, and I would say is becoming a kind of a global powerhouse. So from this level, what you're doing, of course, is similar in terms of the layers of education, but of course, it's much more ambitious because you're dealing with an interface that is interactive, and that is, I would say, is AI Web3, not just Web3, because Web3 is, sometimes it goes too much into crypto and different parts. So I want to touch in one end. So the interface in terms of the Web3 part, and you touch the gamification, the artificial intelligence, we touch a bit about the LLM and how it works, but I want to touch as well how we combine the UI UX and this interface. Are you trying to take it to VR, AR? And as well, I think probably the question right now related with this, and this is for me the most important, is definitely the children are already partly doing this, especially between there's that, I think according to benchmarks, so 3.5 billion people playing games, but around 500 million in Roblox, and most of the ages are between 7 to 12, 13. So in terms of these demographics, which are very sensitive, and then of course, if you are successful, you can scale with them. I'm sure that's the goal. How do you see the relationship, first of all, between the app and the children, their parents? Do you have some kind of benchmark of the schools? And I know that you're starting step by step. So it's a lot of questions, but I'd like to see the confluence of these things to make really a great experience. Because I think the challenge and a lot of failures in applications so advanced as what you're doing is that it becomes or too complex, or at the same time too risky for people, and people get afraid.
No, thank you. That's a brilliant question. I think what Khan Academy has done is amazing. Their model is amazing. I think what they are doing consistently has been a inspiration to me. And following in the footsteps of these leaders are what the next leaders do, if you will. I think that you hit on exactly what Khan Academy doesn't have, is that interaction, that digital interaction with they have avatars, but with that conversational aspect and how that looks. And also, we also are using that same flipped classroom perspective where you learn at home to go back in the classroom and do better. Our test prep makes it unique. Our wellness component makes it unique. And quite frankly, there's enough of the pie to go around. I think that what we really, really focus on is that conversational aspect. And my 5-year plan is today these AI cabs, conversational AI beings, may be the front facing, but tomorrow it may be, and I'm already in talks with an organization now, maybe hologram technology. The idea is for a hologram to pop up here and have your tutor there. So the technology front face can constantly be interchangeable. The power and strength of edYOU Technologies is really its platform, both front face, but really back end platform, right? The data it gathers, because one thing these other companies don't do is give you insight on the data analytics. And really, data is the new gold, right? In our case, the parents have every question the student has asked, every quiz they've gotten right or wrong, and it analyzes the data and says, your student is doing better here, your student is doing better here. And that's where our patent really lays. And what that does is it helps the teacher, because a big problem that the schools are having is, how do I know that this student is not using ChatGPT? They have another window open or whatever other LLM, because GPT is an amazing platform. How do they know they're not typing it up there, come back with the answer, and it's done, right? But with our platform, everything is documented for the administrator, right? For the user end and for the student. So the teacher can go check the next day and say, 20 minutes, John Smith went on there, did this studying, that's why their grades are improving, or that's why this paper looks so much better. And having that back end data makes the administrators of schools feel better, the parents feel better, and the user feel better, because they know where their data is. It's not out in the ether somewhere. And that has been a big conundrum with technology, right? Because data is so valuable. It's, as the new gold, the new oil, if you will. But what we say is, here's your data. All we're doing with the data is helping our machine learn more to give you a better experience. And that in itself, as simple as it is a very novel idea, because we find our strength in our users increasing. And the data is the data, right? We'll put research on it with the permission of the end user, whether it's an institution or not. So those are really the differentiating factors, and keeping it very simple, keeping it learning and wellness and a very good environment. If we can get those kids that are going to their sports practice, whether it's soccer or football, like you say, or whether they're waiting for the school bus or on the bus, or whether they have to study by themselves because mom and dad are both working a job and they don't have a tutor, or they can't afford a tutor. Real life tutors are very expensive. Go on edYOU for 20 minutes. Learn. The parents can go see, oh yes, this is what my son or daughter has learned today. And having that verification, trust but verify aspect to it, I think makes us very, very different. And it's a novel idea, but give the power back to the people. Let them have their data, let the machine grow with them and help them learn better while they're in control of their data. I think is a very easy to say approach, but it can be very greedy to do it the other way.
No, that's excellent, and I think that's a big differentiator and a key element to success of this. So I think we touch most of the things, and I think edYOU definitely, I think, can become one of the key education elements and life-changing opportunities for continuous training. So I want to touch right now, and I know that we are wrapping up in a while. So if you have a bit time for a couple more questions. So
Anytime.
You have been doing a lot of work in terms of education for medicine and all the different areas related with medical education and healthcare. So tell us a bit about that as well, because it's continuation, but this is for adults and I think it's less sensitive, but as well very ambitious. And I actually had an interview in this podcast about a professor from one of the universities in Toronto, and actually a doctor, that built an AR, actually VR, just to teach about back pains and back medicine. So there's a lot of concrete case studies, but not really massive global exposure. So I'm interested to hear about so I mentioned about the residence medical and this particular work on the education and the different parts on this.
No, thank you for that. And talking about AR, VR, it's interesting because I on purpose wanted to create a device without any hardware, because I think hardware becomes cumbersome. We've actually had two AR companies that have AR, VR companies that have came to us and said, please buy us out. But I want to stay in this direction. I think keeping a focus is very important. And that's what Residence Medical helped me keep a focus on. I could have helped nurses, I could have helped physician assistants, I could have helped administrators, but I stuck with helping people postgraduate and going through medical school. And really what I've done with that is it's been the foundation, and the next evolution is edYOU technologies at edYOU. Residence Medical is a very, very special place in my heart. My wife runs it now because edYOU has taken all my attention, along with Professor Heffernan, who was one of the first employees of Residence Medical. And it's really about helping these people that have no chance and being that mentoring and support system. If you go to Geffen School of Medicine at UCLA, you have 10 people backing you. calling for you, helping you with the board examinations. But if you're someone that's coming from the Caribbean school or even at a tier 2 school, medical school in America, it's very hard for one to get that support. So what we do is we open up the doors and say, hey, give this person a chance to go and prove themselves in your clinical setting for a year, doing research, doing clinical. And if you like them, give them a chance at an interview, give them a chance to earn their way. So what we do is we open doors, and another by alleviating the residency bottleneck, especially in rural areas, just outside of Los Angeles, right? If you go an hour and a half away where there's very, very desperate populations of indigenous people, there are no doctors to be found there. In 40-mile radius, there's one doctor. So what we're doing in that case is sending these doctors, these residency aspirants and fellowship aspirants to these areas saying, for 3 years, you have to promise to stay here after you graduate and give back to the community. Because what people do is if they do go do a residency there, as soon as they do their residency, they leave and come to Los Angeles or go to Orange County and some of these popular areas. And another thing Residence Medical is doing is it is helping start residency programs in community-based hospitals in very, very vulnerable population areas. We are just starting a psychiatry program. We started a family medicine program. We're starting another psychiatry program. So if you bring the program to a community-based hospital, it, due to regulations of the governing body, which is called ACGME, Accreditation Council for Graduate Medical Education, the hospital gets better because its standards are better. And the hospital now becomes a teaching hospital where this new blood goes to get trained. And if they come through us and a program that we've started at a community-based hospital, they have to stay there 3 years after training. And what we found is if someone postgraduate stays 3 years after, they have a patient base there, they have nurses they've hired there. So they're more inclined to stay in that community, at least operate their practice in that community, even if they live 10 miles in a better area, if you will. So that's what Residence Medical does. It's been doing it for 25 years. We've helped thousands of medical school students and graduates achieve residency in America, and we're very humbled by that. I mean, I've helped just this year a girl that couldn't get residency because 2 years ago she had a brain tumor and she couldn't pass a test properly, to immigrants from Sierra Leone whose dream was to come to America to be a doctor, and we've mentored them through. So each person has an individual story, and bringing that empathy is why I started edYOU, because I said, let's help the world from pre-K to gray, meaning from 8-year-old to 80-year-old. Let's bring learning and wellness to the world, and let's do it in a way where they have control of it and they learn and they have dopamine released because they're accomplishing something in the privacy of their home, car, or wherever. And that's really, companionship is important. It reminds me, Mr. Dinis, of what Mother Teresa said. She said, I can give you all the money in the world, right? You can give me all of the money in the world, and I'm paraphrasing, but sometimes these people need a hug. They need someone to talk to. And there's a lot of loneliness in the world. And if you can incorporate that with an artificial intelligence being that's human-like, that you can learn from and talk to about what's going on in your life, and it helps you learn and develop and increase your critical thinking, I think that we're helping humanity to a great, great degree. And that is my mission, to leave a mark and help humanity through building their critical thinking through education and wellness.
So I have on what you just touched, which is very important. So if you look at visions, and first of all, congratulations on your work on these areas, because it's very impressive and very necessary. I know how it is. Remote zones around the world, you mentioned indigenous communities. I've been working with some of them. It's really a very important thing. So one thing that I want to touch. So when you look at visions for humanity, and you mentioned Mother Teresa, there's definitely a big shift in terms of the visions. Okay, of course, having humanity at its center is amazing, what we achieved, but of course we achieve as well some horrible things. So on all the visions of technology, and I always look at 2 or 3, for instance, Star Wars, Star Trek, Terminator, and probably as well we can go for 1 or 2 more, like The Creator or so forth, some of the films that have been more science fiction, but with a lot of realism. And of course, I often quote something from James Cameron, of course, one of the biggest science fiction filmmakers and authors in the planet. And he says that at the moment it's difficult to write science fiction because we are living science fiction. So the challenge and as well the question for me is, so you are creating digital sentience educators.
Yes.
And of course, there's still a big amount of educators that are not digital savvy. And there's a lot of fragmentations that we know around the world. So from this vision, how do you see this interaction between humans and this digital sentience that we're building, like your Anna and all the others? And are you thinking to build personalities for them? How do you see this going? Because of course this is going to happen. It's already happening. There's people dating AIs. The film Hers became reality. There's people using AIs for the most crazy things. Of course, for a lot of bad things as well. And of course, I want to focus like what you're doing for education. But I want to touch this, the relationship with the vision, the narrative, but as well how we can highlight these things to create of course, a complementary vision around these different areas.
Yeah, I think that for us, that's why the term the safe face of AI is very important, is to have and the genius of Mr. Jobs is to create that walled garden of safety around when you're on our platform. I think to have a safe place where someone can go knowing their data is not harvested to go sell to people, to have a place where they can learn at their own pace, at their own time, and during that time have a sentient being there that can listen to their voice modulations and respond accordingly, can listen to their speech pattern to say, hey, you're doing this a little slower, and help them through the wellness aspect, so that when they come on, there's a community built around this. There's a community built around edYOU, and how I envision 20 people together doing our US history or our algebra platform, and learning from each other, and really gaining the experience. I think that the thing that I am encouraged about in my vision for edYOU, and my mandate where I wake up every morning, is safety, trust, and having fun during learning. It's been way too much buttoned up. If people can go on the platform, have fun while they're learning, feel better while they're learning, and feel better once they come off of the platform, we have accomplished something, because we have accomplished that they want to learn more, they want to feel better more, and there's a platform that they can go and feel better. Do you know that the average time in America to see a talk therapy psychologist, not even psychiatrist, is 8 months? So these are people that are in need, that are reaching out and cannot see somebody for 8 months. That's why what we're doing with Dr. Lockman is amazing. But now you switch on a button and you can have Hannah, and we'll train, our model will train for her particular use case in wellness. But immediately you can speak to Hannah when you're having that moment, because we are in the moment beings, right? If we're feeling bad, we want to help that moment. That emotion that we felt, 8 hours ago may be different now, or we may be over it, but it's still going to residually follow our energy field. So if we can go and have that platform where we're stopping these parameters of time and these backlogs of professionals helping, and giving our AI being the gift of helping these people through these different education and wellness issues, but having the data there so that the professional can review it and say, okay, maybe I need to call this patient of mine, they're having a hard time. Or, oh, the teacher sees, wow, this young lady from 6 months ago to now has improved their grades greatly. They're happier in class now because now they can practice their speech with Hannah or Nova. I think is a great ambition. But just to summarize your question, safety, trust, and fun, I think, are very, very things that we believe are very important for the success of learning and wellness. On our platform, that's what we mandate, definitely.
Well, it's a great way to wrap up, and I want to thank you, and of course wishing you congratulations, because what you try to do, or you're doing, actually not trying, what you're doing is very impressive, and I'll let our users as well and our audience to engage. I hope, of course, this is for children, but I think everyone should try to look and engage and try to do. I'm sure that a lot of things will come out of your platforms and their efforts. Congratulations. And I don't know if anything you want to say to our audience just on these areas besides the safety, because one of the things is you touched the safety, but I would like to touch how empower you And of course, you are all about empower, but the final message just on this empower, especially for young people, not of course the children that you're targeting, but others, how these tools can actually help. You mentioned safety and of course the area of fun and having kind of excitement around that. But there's a component as well of hope around this that I would like to touch, especially as you a well-being expert. I want to touch that last part.
Yes, I would just like to say just one minor, not correction, but just one minor thing. The platform on the 916, yes, it's at schools, primary schools now, is going to be open to children and adults alike. We're going to have leadership courses. So we've expanded that demographic, if you will. I'd like to say the safe demographic is about 10 to 50, because the leadership courses we teach, the interview prep courses we will teach on the platform. And that landing page will be up by midnight tonight for our September 16th launch. So I encourage everyone to go to edYOU.com and experience it. Right now we have our site up, but the landing page for the launch will be up. And really, I think that our tagline is empower yourself. I want to share with people that dream big and envision it and let people come and live inside your dream. And that will be reality one day. Like you, Mr. Dinis, you had a vision and a dream, and I congratulate you how you've used technology to bypass this traditional media to have even a stronger force. That I love talking to people that are visionaries like yourself. But what I want to tell people is dream big, create a dream, create a vision, and already imagine people in your dream, and then watch your dream live out. If we can have a bunch of dreamers like that, it would be an amazing world for positivity. And really just empower yourself. With edYOU, you are able to empower yourself and help yourself at your points of need, and furthermore, improve yourself. So if you can empower and improve yourself in a safe environment, in the comfort of your own home or wherever you are, I think that we've accomplished a lot. And I will be humbled to be part of such a revolution. And I know it will happen because it is happening. And when I get gentlemen such as yourself that are experts that take note of this and bring it light, that's what it takes for us to start the fire.
I love it, and I think that part, empower yourself, I think it says all, and I think it's critical, especially with all of this. So first of all, congratulations. We'll put all the information about Dr. Michael Everest efforts, the links, will be everything here, whatever channel you are seeing. Congratulations, good luck, and I hope we can contaminate the world in a good way, not contaminate, inspire the world in a good way.
Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for your valuable time, and thank you to your team. You're doing amazing work there too, and I'm honored. Thank you.
Thank you.